weddings, anniversaries, church program, or request our coverage at your function. MBC, at your service 24/7. Call 832-887-6452 or call 281-888-9502. MBC, your favorite station, sharing African views.
Welcome to Wazobia Market.
Good morning. Good morning to the people of Houston. Like they say in our broken English language, you not see rain, or like they will say, hey, ruju. I mean, the rain is out there. There are high points of water all over the city. I mean, it took me some time getting into this. It's usually a 30-minute drive from my place here. I was on the road for about 45 minutes. But again, we live in Houston. We do know that when it rains, it pours. And when it pours, I mean, we have a lot of water all over the city. But again, good morning. This is Patrick Omosagi. I'm again filling in for Jumoke, your regular presenter. And today, I do have someone that is joining our crew. Her name is Shola. She'll be joining our crew. And from time to time, she'll be our roving reporter. We're expanding what we do, and I hope again, those of you that need our help, that need publicity, that need to do something within the community and in the city of Houston, just get in touch with us. But again, first things first, go to our Facebook page and like us. Give us a call when you can, and we'll be very, very willing to help you promote or produce produce something for you that we can show on air. This morning, we have a lot for you. First of all, we have a very good interview by one of the mayoral candidates, the former sheriff of this county, Harris County, Adrian Garcia. We have an interview that we recorded during the week because he couldn't make it live out here. It's a very interesting interview. I want you guys to give him a lot of ear. Listen to him and see what he has to say on what he will do for the city of Houston if he becomes mayor. But in some of the stories we're going to be covering today, I mean, back in Nigeria, it was all fun and all that in the Senate hearing about ministerial screening, the last part of it, and then the approval of some of the ministers so far, or some of the candidates who have now been approved to be ministers. We'll also touch on the great visit by President Buhari to India. We had this India and Africa conference, business roundtable and all that. So all that we'll do. But right now, let me introduce our roving reporter and to the program for the first time. Shola, welcome. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Houston. How are you all doing today? You can tell Prof had a really peaceful night, I must say.
Well, that's good.
He looks very well rested.
Yeah. Hey, look, what we intend to do as we grow our program is to actually get out there and talk to our people on the streets on major issues. I mean, not everybody can come into the studio, and that is why we are bringing you on board. Yeah,
in other words, getting closer to the community. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Very happy to be here.
Now, before we go on, let's take our usual early break, which is a music break, and we'll be right back to do the stories that concern us from Nigeria and from the rest of Africa. So we'll take that break right now. Welcome back, Houston. Again, I'm still joined by Shola, who's going to be a roving reporter for us. But look, Shola, let's start with the happenings in Nigeria. The ministerial screenings, the rest of it. I mean, we've been on this for about 3 weeks now. But again, this week it got a little bit more interesting because this was when they had to approve all those they had spoken with. And you know what happened.
I did see it, and sincerely, I'm just glad it's over. I really, so much has happened, and it has gone on and on and on, so much, I don't want to call it chaos, but sincerely, Prof, I'm just glad it's over.
Well, you can call it chaos because look, what happened
I'm just glad it's over.
What happened on the long run when it came to the approval of the former governor of Rivers State, Amechi, the PDP, the opposition party, they all walked out of the Senate
They did
floor.
that, and I found that really, I don't know if disrespectful is the word, but I found it not so good. Well, I found it disrespectful. I thought that, at this stage, our democracy has, started growing, has matured enough, and I really didn't expect that from the lawmakers. But
look, it's what you say, what comes around, or what goes around comes around. I mean, this exact thing happened about a year ago when Senator Obanikoro, Obanikoro was going to be made a minister. And
at the time,
the opposition party at that time also walked out on him because,
I'm just glad it's over. I'm just glad it's over. Let's just see what goes on from here and how much work would be done and how.
I think this whole process is taking too long.
Yeah.
I think that really even after 3 weeks of screening, we should actually know
who is doing who? Who's doing what? Sorry, who's doing what? And I'm just going to keep saying, I'm just glad it's over.
Well, it's not over because we're still going to have to dwell and in some cases quarrel about what ministry is appointed to some of these guys that have been appointed.
And they're really itching to see what would happen.
Yeah, but that's one of the things. Again, it's one of the it's a teething problem of a new administration. So we'll just take it for what it is. But again, while all this was happening, the president was out of the country.
Yeah,
he was in India for more like an African and India business conference, which is really very nice because we're all what you call the emerging economies. India is an emerging economy, and Nigeria and Africa, most of Africa is an emerging economy.
Indeed.
So going to India to have this, I think this is the third one that is happening. So it's great.
Amazing.
It's something that I think we should continue to look forward to because we can learn a lot from India. I mean, when I say we can learn a lot from India, I happen to have a lot of friends out here in Houston that are from India. And when we talk about what is going on back in our places where we all
you hear
come
how
from,
much they've grown.
I hear what they're doing. I mean, a lot of right now, that the medical industry in India is growing greatly. That is where a lot of Nigerians...
That is getting huge as well.
Yeah.
Very many Nigerians travel out there.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things we can learn. It's a small industry. These are small industries, but it's because they are bringing their expertise from America.
Yeah.
Because most of them come out from America and go back.
And they're building on what they've learned so far as well.
So
that's really amazing.
So I'm hoping that, I mean, that's the President Buhari addressing the Africa-India partnership and all that. That's great. I mean, Well, these are the things that I think this country, our country needs to, or most of Africa needs to get into. We have to kind of study what works in other places of the world and start to build on it.
But haven't we been doing that over the years? We've been doing that. Very many visits from the past administration, the entourages, the this and the that, and the 50 and the 20 and the 40.
Well, it's true that it looks as if we've been doing
that. But we
haven't done it well.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we
More
expect.
Like it then. More
so,
like
I mean, look,
it.
anytime you get a new administration, one of the things you want is that, these guys can do it better.
Let me see what I can learn from them.
Yeah, these people can do it better, and that's what we're really hoping now. Now, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to take another break. But when we come back, we're going to play the interview that we had with Mr. Adrian Garcia, the former sheriff of Harris County.
The mayoral candidate?
Yeah, who's running for the post of mayor. Let's not forget, the elections are Tuesday. Early voting is over, so now you can only vote on Tuesday, the election day. So I pledge to all my African brothers, Nigerians, and all the others that let's go out there and vote for a candidate of a choice. Let's become more involved in the politics of Houston, because we have quite a good number out here, and we should start to not affect the elections, but we should become part of it and become noticeable in the politics. So we'll take a break. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll play that very, very important interview.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
With me this morning is a man who wants to be mayor of this great city of Houston. He was born on the north side of the city and rose to be elected twice as sheriff of Harris County, which is the third largest county in the United States. He managed a workforce of about 5,000 and a budget of about $500 million. He's been on the city council and has spent 23 years as an officer in the Houston Police Department. Let me welcome to our studios Mr. Adrian Garcia. Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
It's interesting, just when I read a lot more about you, one of the things that were fascinating is, apart from your 23 years as a police officer, you've also, just because you grew up here, you were born here, you've been part of the city council, what is it now? Why now do you want to become mayor?
Well, Houston's been an incredible city to me. I am the son of immigrant parents. My brothers and my sister were all born in Mexico City, and I was the only one to be born in Houston. And so Houston embraced my family, it embraced me. It gave me the opportunity, as you said, to serve as a Houston police officer, as a member of Houston City Council, where I was Mayor Pro Tem to Mayor White, and then to be the sheriff of the largest sheriff's office in Texas and the third largest in America. That's the kind of opportunity this great city provided me and has provided so many others. So along with so many other things, I want to be the mayor who protects the spirit of opportunity that Houston is so well known for, to make sure it's there for the next generation of Houstonians.
Look, most politicians, we always say that, play around the edges of, main issues or problematic issues and all that. We have one in this coming election, Proposition 1, the HERO Ordinance, that's the Houston
Equal Rights.
Yeah. Where do you stand on this? Because for our community, it's a little bit troublesome for us, and I understand either because it hasn't been well explained, or a lot of people just don't get a full understanding of this ordinance. Where do you stand, and can you explain it better for us?
Sure. First of all, the Equal Rights Ordinance is essentially that, ensuring that people in Houston do not have to tolerate any form of discrimination. And I tell people I made a career out of fighting crime and discrimination. And so to have an ordinance that protects the brand that is Houston and what we're known for, we're known as a welcoming city. We are known as a city that provides opportunity and protects those who are here to work hard and play by the rules. This ordinance is something that speaks to that attitude and that history of Houston. But by the same token, it has created some controversy. And that's why I am glad that the people of Houston will have the opportunity to weigh in on it. If you support it, we'll make sure that it's done well and safely. If you don't support it, then we have other priorities that we have to contend with. But by the same token, it is something that business leaders, the Greater Houston Partnership, says that this will be good for business, that it will make Houston competitive with other major cities in America who have the same ordinance in place. And so when business tells me that it will provide for a stronger economy, I stand with business. But I do respect and I do want the people of Houston to weigh in on this and have a vote one way or the other.
I said, Gavin, that's good. Let's just drop on the other more important proposition out there, which is the term limit. Now, are you also in support of term limit, and how does that really affect how we now continue to develop as a city? Because, you know, I think going to the polls every 2 years, I don't want to say a little bit problematic, but it could be expensive too. So now we have on as a proposal 2 4-year term limits. What do you like it, and is it something you really?
Well, look, I've been successful under both terms. I've been a city council member where I ran successfully 3 times and was elected 3 times, and worked under a 2-year, 3-term system. And then I was elected as your sheriff, where I worked under a 4-year system that had no term limits. On the issue of limits itself, I believe that the voters are always the best determinant of how long a person should stay in office. But the configuration of whether it's a 2-year or 4-year, that's up to you to decide what system you want us to work under. So I principally stand on the position that I oppose the change, only because it's up to you. I've heard all the arguments that it is costly, and it is. It is troublesome because you have to run every other year, and that is troublesome. But at the same token, when you ask for the permission of the voters to serve in elected office, you know what you're walking into, so you ought to be ready to hit the ground running, as I did, and I was successful under both systems. So I'll leave it to the voters to decide what system you want us to work under.
Now, here is one thing that all voters are really talking about right now: the economy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, with the down trend of the oil business, which is, you know, a big stay in the Houston economy. I mean, I know the other one is the medical sector, but oil. So the economy is at the top of every voter's mind. You're coming in without a lot of business background, I mean, at least from what we know, but you've also run a substantially massive organization like the Sheriff's Office. What are your principles? What are your economic principles that would help this community continue to grow?
Well, the idea that the economy, the national economy, has created a conversation is so true. The depressed price of oil and the volatility of the global market has created a conversation about our nation's economy. But that's why, Patrick, I've been talking to business leaders of large and small companies, asking them about what could the mayor actually do about the price of oil. And at the end of the day, very little. But what the mayor can do is to ensure that City Hall runs well, that we're efficient, that we're being fiscally disciplined, and that we're taking care of our existing businesses, supporting those that are already here, employing a number of people, But the other thing that we can do is that Houston has 4 great economic sectors. We're the oil and gas capital of the world. We have the medical center, we have NASA, and we have the Port of Houston. What the mayor can be doing is to work with the Greater Houston Partnership to identify those companies of emerging sectors of economy and attract them to Houston. And that's how we continue to diversify our economy and to protect us from being totally dependent on the energy sector. I was in a patrol car the last time the energy sector went under, and it was tough. The crime rate went through the roof. Unemployment was tremendous, and we have been fortunate that the diversification that we've enjoyed here as of late has protected Houston to a large extent. But we cannot take it for granted, and that's why one of my principal focuses is on international business and foreign investment to be brought into Houston.
Okay. When we come back, I'm going to ask a question that's really on our minds, because this is more personal to a lot of people, and that is our roads. I mean, our roads.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of unusual for a big city like this for people to be concerned about bad roads.
That's
but
right.
there are really bad roads in Houston. So once we come back, that's the first question we're going to address. So we'll take a break and be right back.
People assume quality car insurance has to cost more. People assume too much. The truth is, drivers who switched to Allstate last year saved money and got better protection. So get the facts, because you know what they say about people who assume. They pay more for car insurance than you and me.
Call Kayode Ajanaku, 9903 State Highway 6 South, Suite 600, Sugarland, Texas 77498. Telephone 713-776-3275.
Welcome to Wazobia Market.
Welcome back. I still have with me in the studio a man running to be mayor of the city of Houston, Mr. Adrian Garcia. He was also the former sheriff. He was a 2-time sheriff, elected twice as sheriff of of Harris County. Before I left, I mentioned the issue of bad roads. Mr. Mayor, to be, if I may address you that.
I love it.
What are you going to do about the roads?
Well, you know, the citizens voted on something called Rebuild Houston that was supposed to provide for flood and drainage mitigation, that was supposed to provide for infrastructure improvements, and to provide for improved streets. And there's been incredible controversy in this campaign. We have continued to talk about the state of our roads, the potholes, but no one has any confidence that the things that we voted on in terms of Rebuild Houston is actually happening. One of the key things, Patrick, was that the repair of the roads was supposed to be worst first, and that is also something that is under a lot of controversy. So my first order of business is to rebuild Houston, the Rebuild Houston program, but to ensure that it is providing us everything that we said that it was going to do. The second thing is that it appears that the Public Works and Engineering Department seems to be oblivious to what's occurring in our community. So the other thing that I'll be focusing on is to ensure that our Public Works and Engineering Department is actually working for the public. These projects are being decided in a separate building, on a top floor conference room, outside of the purview of cameras and lights and microphones. And so we don't know whether all the things that we told, or the citizens were told when they voted on this, actually are happening. I want to bring that conversation into City Hall under the lights and cameras and microphones so that the city engineers can be justifying the projects and convincing Houstonians that this is meeting works first, and that we're demonstrating to them that we're paying attention to the potholes and fixing the streets permanently, not just patching them up, but fixing them permanently.
Now, the roads, fixing them permanently. Are we going to have or continue to have a reasonable budget? Because that's always the fear when we start talking about rebuilding things and all that. You know, everybody's concerned about the budget. And while I'm just mentioning the budget, what are the plans? Everybody knows that what we have as a police headquarters now, there are talks about trying to either build a new one or rent an existing space to remodel and all that, because, you know, I mean, obviously you were head of, you were the sheriff of the Harris County, and we had problems with, I think, with the jail systems and overcrowding or just old. Without busting the budget, because, you know, one of the things we obviously love in Texas and in Houston is that
Low cost living.
low cost of living. We don't want the taxes up. How is that solvable without budget busting?
Well, you have to be willing to find efficiencies. And as we say in Houston, this isn't my first rodeo, Patrick. In 2004, when I got elected with Mayor White, we dealt with a $140 million budget gap. In this election, if you elect me as your mayor, we'll be dealing with about a $126 million budget gap. So obviously, we're going to have to work to balance the budget immediately. And what the issues to all issues of cost, whether it's for public safety, whether it's for roadways, whether it's for quality of life issues, is the cost of our pensions. And so one of the chief areas of financial reform that we must accomplish is looking at our public pension systems, municipal, police, but the most important one is the fire pension system.
Yeah.
We must achieve local control so that we can be making these decisions in City Hall about these issues and about our employees and about our public safety. But right now we can't. Those conversations are being held in Austin by the legislature, and that's not right. But to that end, what I did as a sheriff is that when I stepped in 2009, we were spending $40 million in overtime. When I stepped down to run for mayor, we spent $6 million. We brought down the jail overcrowding. We're no longer overcrowded, so we weren't wasting tens of millions of dollars per year in private jails in the state of Louisiana. But this is the type of work that has to be done by the mayor, looking in every department. Do you know that the city of Houston currently is spending $97 million in overtime? And I've already learned how to adjust that. And it's principally coming out of 3 departments. So these are areas that we can take a look at. And I'm sure that if I found hundreds of millions of dollars worth of savings under the course of my administration, I can find that much and more within a $5 billion city budget. So you look for the cost drivers, you put in reforms, you put in technology, you improve your management practices, and then I believe that you achieve successes, and then you reinvest your savings into those issues that are important, like our streets, like our public safety, like our quality of life.
Again, right next to me is a man running to be mayor, Mr. Adrian Garcia, 23 years on the police force, what we say on the police beat. Now, I say this with a lot of happiness and joy, really, that I live in a city that doesn't have the same kind of policing problems that we are seeing in other big cities in America. Detroit, Chicago, New York. But even with all that, policing needs to improve because we've seen all the problems around other cities, and we don't want that here. From your experience and from what we have as a racial composition in this city, how are you going to improve? I'm not using the word solve because we haven't had those issues. So how are you going to improve policing from your experience? Now you be at the top of even sheriffs in the police department and all that. How do you improve this?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is look for a police chief that respects and understands the value of diversity. You know that Houston is the most culturally rich and diverse city in America. We speak about 100 languages every single day. And so the police chief needs to understand that, value that, and embrace that, and ensure that his or her policies are reflective of how to support that diversity. I believe in community-oriented policing, so we have to recommit ourselves to that. And we're fortunate, Patrick, that we haven't had these challenges, but we can't take it for granted either. So we have to continue to build bridges, build relationships, be engaged with the community, and also recruit from the community. That's something that I was very effective at as a sheriff. I never had to send a recruiting team to Chicago or New York or any other place to look for people to be public servants right here. We found them in our own neighborhoods. And I think that when you recruit locally, you get a better product, you get someone who understands our community, and you have someone who understands the neighborhoods and the challenges, and I believe would be more supportive of the community. So I think these are some of the issues that we have to work with to keep our city safe.
Now, without any doubt, this election is probably going to come to a runoff in December. So we'll take another short break, but immediately we'll come back. I want you to address, because I believe, from the polls we see out there, you're likely to be in the runoff. So I'd like you to address how you would get into our communities and really address, I don't want to say personally, but really come to us and tell us exactly what benefit we will gain from you becoming our mayor. So we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Again, I have with me in the studio here is Mr. Adrian Garcia, a candidate for mayor. The election is November the 3rd, the first Tuesday. That's historically or traditionally the election day in the United States. And we're going to be electing a new mayor. We have a lot of proposals on the ballot, and we have over 13 candidates running for mayor, and Mr. Garcia is at the top poll-wise. He's one of those at the top poll-wise. We suspect by all standards that this is going into a runoff. Now, Mr. Garcia, the African community, the Nigerian community is a pretty large community in the city of Houston. How, what is it that you can give? Don't let me use the word give. What is it that we can get out of you becoming our mayor?
Well, first of all, let me just say Africa Kwenu. I have been engaged with the African community for many, many years. I have many relationships there. So I think number one is to recognize the fact that Adrian Garcia doesn't have to introduce himself for the first time just because he's a candidate for the mayor of Houston. I've been engaged with the community for many years. Secondly, I understand that one of the chief concerns and interests of the African community is to have the consulate office right here in Houston, Texas, where we have the most significant Nigerian community and African community in the United States, but yet we do not have a consulate office here. That's one of the things that I will work on day one with the community to ensure that we're working hard to bring that office here to support the business community, the scientific community, and to build those relationships, coupled with the fact that we have direct flights to every continent in the world, including Africa, and that should allow us to do business as well as tourism. And so the other side of it too also is that I believe in inclusion. It is something that I have demonstrated throughout my career. As a sheriff, I started and had the most diverse command staff in the history of Harris County. That attitude will not stop when I become your mayor. But looking to the African community to be a part of the policy making and the framework of the city of Houston so that we can make sure to have policies that are reflective and supportive of the African community. This is what you will get from me and more. And a commitment to visiting the community, even though you tend to have your events so very late at night. I enjoy it, and also, all I ask, you like me as your mayor, I want to make sure that I get my cola nut every time I'm at your events. I went to one event, didn't get my cola nut, so I had nothing to present to tell people where I've been. So I don't want to see that happen. I am a mayor who understands and respects the beautiful diversity that is in Houston, Texas, especially the African community.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, the great people of Houston, I mean, it's been my pleasure and our pleasure at MBC. We've been talking to Mr. Adrian Garcia, who's a candidate to be mayor. The election again is on November the 3rd. You all go out there and vote for your choice for mayor. Again, Mr. Garcia, thanks for coming.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you for having me, Patrick.
Welcome back. I hope you all paid very close attention to the interview we had on Wednesday with Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, again, as you all know, is running to be mayor of this great city of Houston. Again, he's not the only one we have had the opportunity to interview. As many of you would know, we had a little bit of a clip that we had with Mr. Sylvester Turner. We've had Mr. Steve Costello in the studio right here. And we've also had Mr. Chris Bell into the studio to talk to him about what he will do if he becomes mayor of Houston. Now, the good thing is that we've talked to 4 of the 7 real contenders in this election, and we're happy to say that all 4 of them are really in great contention. Right now, if you look at the polls, the opinion polls, you would find that Mr. Turner is leading with about 16%, and Adrian Garcia and Bill King are actually just a few points behind them. You would know also that this election, because of actually the numbers of candidates we have, is definitely going into a runoff. And that is where I think we as a community, the African community, the Nigerian community, can really play a huge part. And that is, you know, let's still go out on Tuesday and vote. But as this is likely going into a runoff, that is when we should go out and pick our candidate. And because we'll have a lot more influence doing that. Because when you look at the numbers that come out to vote in elections like this, it's about a fifth, about 20% of the entire stuff. So again, let me welcome back with me here, Shola. Yeah, I mean, well, I was doing the political bit of it.
It's okay. It's all right.
On Tuesday is voting day. If this goes into a runoff, it will be December 12th. So you have just about a month. And it's going to be the 2 top finishers. You know, we don't know who that is. It's very likely Sylvester Turner. He's leading in all polls right now. So it'll be Sylvester Turner and someone else. What do you, I mean, you know, just from the time you've been in Houston and from what you know within our community and all, what would you think they should come really to address in that 1 month in order to get our votes?
I think as it stands now, it's just going to be about just reaching out more to people. Getting to as many people personally as possible, and just go out there and vote. I think that's just what is needed right now. They've been at this for months now, and I'm sure that people are well informed of what each and every candidate has to offer. So I think what's left is just going and personally and making that personal contact. That's what's going to be very important.
Well, and we hope they do that.
And people here are really very busy. Not very many are really like.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, they're very busy here.
That's a problem with an election that is not in a presidential year.
I know.
I mean, America tends to, even in a presidential year, America still has one of the lowest voting numbers. in the civilized world. They vote under 70%. No other country, not England, not Australia, not France. Almost all these other countries vote in the 90th percentile. I mean, and America.
I think having a personal contact with as many people as possible would really help each and every one of them, and I'm sure it's going to turn out well. So Tuesday is here. Just go out and vote.
I mean, and then if we go to December 12th, let's do the same thing.
What
we're going to do now is that we're going to take a very, very short break.
Yeah, no
and come
break.
back and do the
headlines. Indeed.
So we'll see you soon.
Yeah, stay tuned.
Welcome back. The weather is still part of what we'll have to contend with today, but you have a flash flood warning till I think 1 o'clock in most places. There are a couple of tornado warnings also. So, but we've got to be careful. This is Houston. We know how the weather can also change.
Just stay in if you really don't have anything that important to do out there. It's really very important.
So right now we're going to take our headlines from around the world, from around Africa in particular. So we'll see what will happen, and we'll make our comments as we go by.
Yeah.
So we'll take it right now. Welcome back. I mean, as you can see, we had to show that 10 billion soft loan from India twice.
That is huge.
That's huge, you know, that's huge for Africa. I mean,
and it's good.
I mean, India is trying to actually position itself as a very good friend to African countries. And again, like I said, it's an emerging economy, but it's at the top of emerging economies. So, I mean, if they can lead us, I mean, I haven't been to India, but I have a couple of friends that have been there on business, and they do really talk about their very small industry-like businesses, you know. They do a lot of very good work. So, 10 billion loan to Africa, that's good for India. One of the headlines we also put out there was that Obafemi Martins, a former player of the Super Eagles, has been re-invited to the national team. I mean, he's been causing waves here in America. He plays for the Seattle Sounders, and he's always at the top of the goal scoring list in the last 2-3 seasons.
That's also a good move, a very good one.
Yeah, so I mean, we're happy for him. I mean, I hope it works out for him this time, because I think we last used him in 2010, and so I hope it just works out for him and works out for the national team as we're trying to either rebuild or
and rebrand.
Yeah, and rebrand.
I'm sure it will pay off at the end of the day.
I mean, since we're on the issue of football or soccer, as we really call it here in America. Our under-17 national team, the Golden Eaglets, will be playing in the quarterfinals tomorrow against Brazil.
So get your patriotic jerseys on.
Yes.
For Nigerians in the community, and we'll go out and support.
And try to support the team.
I'm sure it will turn out well as well. And if, I don't know.
We have a better. We're actually going to be favorites even against the mighty Brazil because we have a better record at that level.
Fingers crossed.
Than the Brazilian.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So look, let's get out there. I mean, like the weather is keeping us all in. And so I mean, it's a good time to be able to sit. I think that game will be played sometime in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
So it's a very good way to relax as well.
Yeah. So before we sign off, what do you have to? I mean, as you're coming on first time, and
you're just going to be seeing more of me, and I'll be doing the best that I can to bring you good quality information, and of course entertainment, just for your pleasure. I would like for you to please go on Facebook and join our Facebook page, like our page. Go up on YouTube as well. It is www.facebook.com/MBC Live TV, and of course you can like our page at New Dawn or on NBC as well. Go to YouTube and watch our past episodes. We'll be very happy to have you on board. Thank you so much, Houston, for being with us this morning. It has been another very informative and entertaining episode.
Thanks Shola. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being part of this, as like I said, as we grow bigger in what we do. So Houston, take care. It's been a lovely Saturday morning to be with you, so we'll see you all next week
by God's grace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.